back to the Sam Houston Sports Talk podcast. Collin, Neill, Luke, Scott back at it here midweek, July. This episode releasing on Friday. And before we get going, just want to say to all of y'all that I hope everyone is okay. Of course, after Hurricane Beryl rolled through southeast Texas and as a tropical storm, it went through Huntsville. So thoughts and prayers to everyone that's still going through it. And Luke, we just hope that everyone is going to make it out of this all right. And I mean, we lost power here. Thankfully, we have some circumstances that are still keeping us going. And overall, Luke, just hope everyone is making it through all right.
For sure. Saw some really devastating pictures, especially along the coast. I saw some really uh, crazy photos down there in like El Campo area. I mean, we're talking trees, huge trees, right? Just collapsed and broken houses, roofs, torn apart, which is it's awful to see. But hey, if South Texas can get through Harvey, it can get through this. No problem. That's the good side. And the best thing about it is that we're in Texas. Help thy neighbor, right? Texans are some of the best people you could ever know, if not the best, right? So, group of people. So just glad, you're all right. Glad everyone still made it. We'll get through this, and I wish the Austin area could have gotten a little bit of rain and taken some of the rain from y'all, but we didn't get a single drop, and it all went eastward. It looked like it was going to head our way and just kind of crept back east northeast, and that's what really killed Huntsville, I think.
Yeah, the eye went right over Huntsville too.
Yeah,
Oh, that's what the crazy part is.
yeah,
But overall, thoughts and prayers to everyone that are still going through it. Just hang on tight, and everything will be all good before you know it. We're gonna begin episode 6 of the Sam Houston Sports Talk podcast, and today we're gonna go over Walker Janek with the MLB Draft this weekend, starting with the first round. Where do we think Walker Janek is going to go? Then we're going to talk about some other baseball news and some transfer commits that they got, along with softball. They're starting to get some transfer commits, and we'll round up that list as well, because the list has been getting bigger as the summer has gone on. And big news as men's basketball and the women's basketball have announced their conference USA schedules in year number 2, as men's basketball looks to try to make it to the promised land of the NCAA tournament, and women's basketball just trying to rebound after a tough first season. And then, of course, we come back with the Monday Mailbag, but under a different name this time around, known as the Mailbag. Before we get into it, be sure you like this video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're trying to get to 50 subscribers at least before the football season begins. So if you haven't already, be sure you subscribe to the Sam Houston Sports Talk YouTube channel. Luke, let's go ahead and get started. Walker Janek, we talked a lot about him before. Now we're getting to that point where we're going to be in front of a TV watching that MLB draft as the first round is set to be underway in just a couple of days. There's been a lot of talk, and I even sent out a Twitter poll, or X poll for that matter, to see what the people think. Where is Walker Janek going to go? I mean, a lot of mock drafts say late 20s. I've heard things that says even higher, and I even am so bold to say he could go higher. And he is the number one catcher prospect in this draft. There's absolutely no doubt about it, especially after winning the Buster Posey Award. As I find this poll real quick, Luke, it's you've talked about it, you brought it up. Walker's gonna make any team happy.
for sure. A catcher who can do a little bit of everything is always going to help the franchise, really. And when you look at it, I'm kind of look at it from the football perspective. When you're looking at a draft, Colin, and you'll kind of get where I'm going with this. There's so many positions, and a lot of times, teams draft best, their position need rather than best overall. And basketball, there's only 5 positions, but in football, there's 22, right, that play on the field at all times. Baseball, it's much more similar to that, right? 18. Or is that right? 18? Yeah, nine in the field. So nine in the field, right? Janek is the number one catcher by far. The Walker Janek won the Posey Award. He has been one of the best catchers in college baseball the past few years, and this is his year, right? He's number one. Um, every team is going to want him. Now the thing is where is he going to go? Positions. The best thing that he's got going for him is that because he is the number one in that position, and there's no doubt about it. He's not in a position where there's more pitchers, so you could be the fourth best pitcher, and you're not talked about going first because you're not the first best pitcher, right? I mean, it's that type of thing. When you're the best at your position in a draft, teams take stock of that. That really raises your value, and there's really no limit on how high he could go, or I'm sorry, well, low in this case, he could go in the top of the first round, especially because when you look at the MLB, and you know more baseball than I do, right, Collin? Catcher is one of the most premier positions, and it's not necessarily it's the deepest position either. I mean, you can only be playing one right at a time. There's a lot of pitchers, right? There's a lot of different middle infielders. Catcher is a very unique position, and that's the best thing he's got going for him is that he's a specialist and he's a great hitter.
On the poll where 38 people voted on the Sam Houston Sports Talk X/Twitter, you can follow that at Sam Houston ST. 38 votes, 13% say top 10 picks, 24% said 11 to 19 picks. Excuse me. And the most voted one, 63% says 20 to 30 picks. Now that's the first round. It doesn't count the secondary rounds after the first round. I kept it at that because I'm pretty sure that's where Janek is going to go. But yeah, you touched on it. Look, Walker has proven that he can hit with the wooden bat. He proved it back when he was with the gosh, I can't remember the team's name, but anyway, the Cape Cod which is one of if not the best summer collegiate league wood bat league that anyone can play in. And Walker had the chance to play with some of the best in America. And the All-American, I think he's going to be picked at least in the top 15. And I say that very boldly, even though there's a lot of mock drafts that are saying, well, absolutely not. He's not going to go not even that close. Maybe a lot are saying that his ceiling is 15. And then below that, that's it. That's where he can. I think he can go higher. I'd say if I want to be less, I guess if I want to be a bit more realistic, I will say top 20. But I think top 20, top 15 is where Walker can go. I just can't see him with what he brings to the table. His bat, his defense, and his play discipline has gotten a lot better because he used to have problems with trying to lay off those breaking balls low and away. You even see it sometimes when pitchers, all what they throw most of the time is sliders, breaking balls low and away because you locate a pitch inside, Walker's going to turn on that one and send it over the fence. And we saw that plenty over the past 3 years in Huntsville, Texas. I was there when he hit his first home run as a Bearkat. And I just remember him like throwing that bat up so high in the air, but he never did that ever again. I think he got a telling to by Coach Sirianni. But
Act like you've been there before, right?
yeah, for real. And he's a freshman, but ever since then, like he's been again like such a joy to watch. And I just can't see where because his arm is great as well behind the plate. This guy threw 96 miles an hour as a pitcher in high school because he caught and pitched. He got up to 96 according to a podcast he did with Steven Schock of D1Baseball.com. And he's got a cannon behind the plate. And his glove work is also really good. His IQ is extraordinary. Am I biased? Absolutely. I am so biased. But I just can't see him falling outside the top 20 and at the very, very optimistic ways, top 15.
It really is all how depends the organization's viewed the catcher position. That's really what it comes down to. Um, if it was just like the best player overall, I'm sure Yannick could go easily up there, but different position groups way different. I mean, that's why for years and years and years, tight ends were never drafted in the first round. Now you see a tight end drafted more often now, right? Brock Bowers, you saw who was the guy the Bills drafted from
Dalton
Utah?
Kincaid.
Kincaid. It's the same exact thing, right? Um, where's the catch position go? I don't know. Of course, I'd love to see him play in Texas still. I'd still love to see him um, be either in the Astros or the Rangers, obviously. Um, but that being said, those two teams, Colin, have pretty solid catchers right now. Yanier Diaz and Jonah Heim have both been pretty good the past few years. Of course, Houston was on the Martin Maldonado train there for a long time. Now they're with Yanier Diaz, and we've seen the offense, right, really grow and him grow as a player. Jonah Heim was an all-star last year and struggled with some injuries this year, but he's been really good lately, right? In the past, especially month or so, he's really picked it up. Um, it's tough. There's projections that they're going to the Braves. Where else have you? I think I've seen all the Twins.
Yeah,
Um,
again, it's like that it's that 20s area.
it's all in that
And
area.
yeah, and I don't know, like, where do you think? I mean, I know you don't know much about baseball. It's totally fine. I want you to like give me your honest opinion. Where do you think Walker goes in that first round?
I think he's going to be right there at like 20 something. I mean, anywhere between 18 and 22. I think that's going to be where he's going to go. And I think he's a much better player than 18 through 22, for sure. But it's all about what the team, what the teams are and what they have strengths, right? I mean, the Baltimore Orioles are going to be drafting right there. There's no way they're going to be drafting catcher in the first round because they have Adley Rutschman, right?
Yeah.
Um, who knows? Maybe the Royals, right? Salvador Perez, he's starting to get a little older, and maybe he goes there. Maybe I kind of like to see. Well, actually, I'd hate to see him play in Toronto, but they got a really fun young core that's up there. He would add to that, right? That would be cool too. I think he's going to go right there between 18 and 22.
MLB Draft begins Sunday, July 14th with the first round. Definitely going to be interesting to see where the Portland, Texas native, the All-American, the Buster Posey Award winner is going to go. Kind of
Colin,
continue. Yes.
Colin, no bias.
Mm-hmm.
What would your favorite place for him to go outside of Houston?
Outside of Houston, I want him to go to a place where it's good development. He can develop all as a player. A very fun place, a very, very fun place. I would like to see him play at is with Pittsburgh because you could see him and Paul Skeens be a battering mate. That honestly would be pretty damn cool.
It would also be cool if Yannick stole Paul Skeens' girlfriend and brought Livy Dunn down to Sam Houston.
Oh my
How
gosh,
good would
bro.
that be?
No, let's
Had
not
to.
let's not go that route.
I had to. No, that's a good
Oh
shout. It
man.
really is a good shout.
Yeah.
I think San Diego would be a cool spot for him.
Yeah, again, though they have that
They have that position pretty locked down, though. That's the thing.
Ethan Salas is the name, by the way, the 17, 18-year-old catcher who
Yeah.
played he was up at spring training this year as a 17-year-old
You just kind of
for the
want him to be in a
Padres.
spot where he can play.
Being in the spot where he can play and in the spot where he can develop his game because teams may have big names. Teams could have a big brand, but at the end of the day, it comes down to their developmental part of the minor league system. You could have studs, and those studs won't turn out to be anything. You could have nobodies, and those nobodies turn out to be pretty good nobodies. Look at the Astros, for example. They don't have the best farm system in the world. They don't have any big names, but guess what? They always seem to run out one or two guys that that have not been talked about at all, like Jake Bloss, or this year Joey Loperfido, or like last year Yonder Diaz, or even it's like, and Christian Javier or Framber Valdez, and just plenty of other guys that and Chaz McCormick that come up that weren't talked about, and they perform. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying Walker's a nobody by all means. My point is, I just care about that he goes to a place where he can develop really well.
The A's would be cool. And you're gonna think, really, the A's? The A's development system has been really good for a long time. They just can't afford to pay any players. But with them now going to, well, supposed to go to Vegas, right? I mean, that would
Yes.
be a pretty cool spot for Yannick. I mean, to be kind of the start of a new chapter. Uh, is it still going to be the Athletics?
It's gonna be the Athletics still, yeah.
Is that he could be that cornerstone Las Vegas Athletic guy?
Yeah, then get traded to the Atlanta Braves for
Yeah,
pennies on the
then goes to the
dollar.
Yankees, right?
Man, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens this Sunday. Sticking to baseball, baseball made an announcement just yesterday on Wednesday as we're recording this. They're going to be participating in the 2025 Frisco Classic, and they'll be going up against three teams and really good teams: LSU, Kansas State, and Nebraska. And just to quickly touch on that, Luke, wow, what another way for baseball to be put back in the national spotlight. Of course, this upcoming season is going to be very interesting. I mean, we still got months and months and months ahead to worry about it, but still, baseball finding their way to be put in the national spotlight.
It's kind of like that it's the program that you just feel always pretty safe about at Sam Houston. And that's not a shot at any other team, right? But you just know baseball is going to find its way to get some big events, whether they're playing up at Globe Life, when they're at the Dell Diamond. Of course, you're always playing down there in Houston with the Don Sanders, but then you're playing at Minute Maid. Now you are in Frisco, playing against LSU, who we've had recent quarrels with in regionals, in the same tournaments, right? We played them against them in a couple years ago in Round Rock, right? Nebraska, you know, pretty good team. Houston, you just drafted their guy, right? Last year,
Bryce Matthews, yes.
Bryce Matthews, right? Yeah.
And they
So
did Sam Houston did face them to begin the 2022 season in a 4-game series in which they took that one 3 games out of 4. And that was the year after Nebraska won the Big Ten.
right, yeah. Well, the Big Ten's kind of weird in baseball, anyways. But also, I mean, Kansas State, right? Big 12. Uh, so you're playing one of each, and you have the Big Ten, the SEC, and the Big 12 there, and then Conference USA. But who else would you want, right? Representing the conference than Sam, right? It's a great for scouting purposes for sure. When all those teams get together, I mean, of course, LSU is going to have big time prospects. Nebraska, K-State always have eyes on them. Hey, that gets Sam some more eyes where else we might not be, right? So always good to be playing these big time opponents. Frisco's a super nice area. So yeah, really happy with what we just landed there.
Well, it was the Carbach Round Rock Classic that got more eyes on Walker Janek.
Yeah, it was Iowa, LSU, and who else was that?
Kansas State.
Kansas
And
State. Yeah, that's
yeah,
right.
and the Bearkats beat them. The Bearkats went 2-1 in that event. The only loss coming, of course, against LSU, which had Dylan Cruz, Trey Morgan, like, dude,
Paul
probably the
Skeens.
probably well, I didn't see Paul Skeens pitch. The only time I saw Paul Skeens pitch was at the regional against Tulane, and
Is he
Sam Houston didn't face LSU in that regional, so
is he that nasty?
bro, he's good.
He's so
I,
good.
I'll tell
He
you.
got pulled today or
Yeah,
yesterday.
no, it was today.
I know,
He's pitching.
but for the viewers listening.
Okay. Hey, thinking ahead. You're thinking ahead of the game. No, but I'll tell you a quick story real quick. So just for those that don't know, I went to the 2023 Baton Rouge Regional. That's where Sam Houston played. Once after they won the Western Athletic Conference tournament, and it was Tulane, LSU, Oregon State, Sam Houston. And I was there for a couple days. I didn't see the whole. I didn't get to watch the whole thing, but all I wanted to do was see Paul Skeens pitch. And man, that dude was really good. Gave up a couple runs, to be fair, against Tulane, which won only 19 games, but somehow won the American Conference. um, but he threw a complete game, and he just never seemed that he was tired. He just kept pitching over and over again. And I'll tell you what, I've never seen a crowd react that crazy when Paul Skeens got up those dugout steps, jogging to the mound in the ninth inning to try and throw a complete game. And it was one of the craziest things I ever seen. And I got to also see Tommy White play. I also got to see Trey Morgan play. I also got to see Dylan Cruz play. So I saw a lot of major league talent.
Yeah, not Tommy White's in this draft coming up, isn't he?
Yes, he is a projected first round pick too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but enough story time. To wrap things up with the Diamond Sports side of things, some transfer announcements. First for baseball, real quick. Baseball got Chris Benavides from Amarillo College, the Badgers. He's a redshirt freshman. This past season, he batted 406 with a 1265 OPS. So a good bat to have in that lineup. And then Sam Houston got left-handed pitcher reliever from Louisiana Tech, Caden Copeland. Did not have a blowout year whatsoever. 29 2/3 innings, 7.58 ERA, but it's a lefty with experience, so it's good to just have some depth in that bullpen. And then for Bearkat softball, just to list off some transfers that they already got: Sam Grader, Kendall Daniel, Bella Perez, and Mackenzie Jenkins. So softball has been very busy as well. Head coach Garrett Volish, I like seeing him getting busy. He is recruiting locally, so he's trying to make sure that what's something like pretty interesting, Luke, is that a lot of these transfers that baseball and softball get, the transfers always live close proximity to Huntsville, Texas.
Well, of course, Houston is the hotbed of talent. Houston is right there with DFW when it comes to just overall depth in so many different sports, right? Suburbs of Atlanta, right? All over Marietta, right? Huge. Out there outside LA, it's the same thing. There's just so much talent there. A lot of times, a lot of good players kind of slip through the cracks sometimes. And you can land some really good players. And of course, the selling point of Sam Houston to a lot of these players, hey, you're right here at home. Your parents can come and watch you. Your friends can come and watch you. You're not traveling across the country to go home for a break, right? To get home just to hang out with the family. You're right there with them. And yeah, that's good to see a lot of, athletes staying, near their family's area, right? Staying near home. Willis, it was Willis. And then it was, what was it? The Woodlands or no? The softball. You know what I'm getting at?
Cypress.
Cypress.
Yes.
Okay.
Like that's just like that area is around Houston is just there's just a lot of good players. Sam Grader, the senior outfielder from University of Louisiana. I believe that's the Raging Cajuns, right?
Yep.
Because everyone keeps calling it Louisiana Lafayette. Then they just
Well,
say Louisiana.
they just had their rebrand.
Yeah,
It was UL Lafayette, but now I think it's just UL.
Yeah, and Grader, Spring, Texas. Kendall Daniel, right-handed pitcher, Kingwood, Texas, transfer right-handed pitcher from Tarleton State. And then Bella Perez from McNeese, sophomore catcher, Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
And Mackenzie Jenkins, junior right-handed pitcher from McLennan Junior College, Cypress, Texas. So, yeah.
All together.
Yeah. So
And all these players, they grow up playing against each other too in travel ball. I mean, there are so many different teams
yeah,
uh, in
there's so
Texas,
many.
let alone be just right there within what a 20, 30 mile radius between all that, right? Um, so they know each other. They've been playing with each other. I'm sure they're talking to each other where they want to go and um, transfer some really good schools too. So steal a couple from Tarleton and UL Lafayette. I mean, those are good softball schools.
And McNeese as well.
Oh
And
yeah.
I do like seeing what Vautlish is doing right now. He recruits in certain hotbeds. Sometimes though, you do have to go out of your comfort zone and probably go out of state to see what you can find because it it's of course every sport's different when it comes to recruiting, the strategies and everything. I'm not saying I'm an expert whatsoever, but at the end of the day, I do like seeing what Volish is doing, just still keeping that kind of family culture within the program.
It's also a life that I want no part of recruiting. I mean, you talk about a grind. You talk about really hustling. I mean, I mean, we talked about it with Dalton the last episode. That's the lifeblood of a program. Um, I mean, those guys, women, whoever, right, that are recruiting for your school, that's a tough sell, right? That's a tough job to hold on to and do well for anyone. So yeah, glad to see they're all sticking in the area. I mean, yeah, of course you have to go out of state to go get some guys. I mean, we see basketball. Basketball goes out of state all the time with transfers, with high school guys, but all and football. Football you see a lot of out of state guys too.
Speaking of great recruiting, I mean, Mudge and his guys are getting ready for a what seemingly is a year of expectations, along with head coach Raven Justice and her squad that are also getting ready for their second season in Conference USA. Luke, the Conference USA schedules are out. Let's talk about it. And already some interesting things. Just to note a few things real quick. It's still the same thing where men's and women's are mirrored. They play the same team on the same day, but flip flop, home and away. So Luke, the first thing I noticed, men's basketball ends their conference season 3 games straight at home. And I already think that's going to be a very big key down the line.
So many times, Colin, you see teams that in the conference tournament get hot and get to the tournament. Um, a lot of times they're coming off a big win streak, right? And they're rolling into it. I mean, last year, Sam Houston was on a great win streak. We got deep into the conference tournament. We might have been one of the hottest teams in the whole country. Really, we just uh, had a really bad night there against UTEP, but 3 straight games at home to close out the season. Uh, it really shapes well for us, I think. And throughout the year, I think we have a pretty solid schedule. I like opening and closing against New Mexico State. Obviously, with the connection there with the coaches, how much USA is going to be trying to milk that. I'm sure one of them is probably going to get uh, maybe a TV night. Hopefully, I could see them playing on a CBS Sports. I could see that type of thing happen for at least one of them, probably over there in Las Cruces, right in New Mexico. But I actually really enjoyed the schedule. That 3 game road uh, trip with La Tech, FIU, and Liberty. That's going to be a kind of a tough one because La Tech's always good. Liberty's tricky. FIU, we were by far the best team, our better team, right against FIU and lost there. Just had a bad night. So I think, you can go 2-1 in that stretch. I think we're gonna look great.
Yeah, and their home opener for men's basketball will be January 9th against Liberty. And I think that's going to be that's going to be I think that's going to be another great game. Of course, Sam Houston lost at their place last year pretty badly, but they handled them pretty easily at home. Uh, against at not against at Johnson Coliseum. Of course, I got the full fledged experience because I was the PA announcer for that game. So, and I got to see firsthand up close of how Mudge operates. And I'll tell you what, if that if beforehand I wasn't sold enough yet on Mudge, that game right there sold me on Mudge. And we're gonna get to it more in the mailbag because we had somebody ask us about our expectations for men's basketball, but just to kind of get a little bit of a warm up in there, this schedule and the non-con, which is still yet to be finalized, we're hoping that it gets finalized within the next 2 months, at least a month or two.
Yeah.
This team is set up to make a run, Luke. I fully believe that.
Yeah, I think so too. It's shaping up pretty good, Colin. It's going to be tough to replace a guy like Davon Barnes, who really throughout the year, he was kind of hot and cold, but when he was hot, I mean, he really, uh, carried the load for us. But you still get guys like Damon Nicholas, like Cam Hoofner, right? You bring back Scroggins, who's been playing there. You bring back a lot of guys that played a lot of valuable minutes for this team that have been around the program for a long time and have seen the progression from the Hooten era now, getting into and well into now with the Mudge area, right? I mean, we're really coming together, I think. I would suspect the team has a slow start at the end of the year just because of a lot of new faces. It's really tough when you get a bunch of guys first year to then just to mesh, right? You see, it's very rare. But I think we have the coaching staff. I think we have the family atmosphere, and I believe we're going to have a good crowd at Johnson next year throughout the season. Of course, that's always the main talking point, Sam Houston. But you get all three of those things together, you could really create something special. And like you said, or like I said, you said with the schedule at the very end of the year, the three straight home games, why not us? Why couldn't we get hot, win a few games in the tournament, and get to the dance?
And you also add Dorian Finister, Brennan Burns. Don't forget Marcus Boykin as well. You bring in some good freshmen, Jackson Ford, guys like Jackson Ford, Eric Taylor, and then you got another transfer in Khalifa Sacco. That's been a big talking point, and also Josiah Hammonds, which I will say, interesting jersey number, number 57. Hey, I'm a fan. I'm a fan. I like weird numbers. I know you don't like look at me numbers like 00 or 99 or
Oh, if you are wearing 00, get out of here. And if you're wearing 99, you think you're the great one, you're not the great one. That's why still don't like Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is a great baseball player. Wear something else. You are not the great one. Nowhere even near it. Anyways, yeah, no, I do like the jersey number 57. It's one of those psycho numbers. You got to have a different type of you have a different type of mindset. I mean, that's like a guy wearing 63, and you're like, huh? What are you wearing 63 for? You're playing basketball. Just got to own it, man.
yeah. And I think again it's gonna be a fun year. Looking at women's basketball, of course, they're coming off of a very tough first year in Conference USA, only winning a couple of conference games. I got to see um all the games at home at the very least during conference season whenever I was the play voice for those home conference games. They lose a couple of players to graduation and the transfer portal. Right now it's still the roster still not fully finalized. They got some transfers in that we're going to talk about later on in another podcast when the rosters start to get finalized. Luke, it's just going to be about can women's basketball make that Conference USA adjustment?
Of course. We struggled with that last year. This year you'd expect it to be a little bit better. Uh, you know, Athletes are a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, faster. Something that Sam just gonna have to get used to. Um, I think we saw soccer do that really well last year, throughout the year, getting better and better. Basketball, of course, baseball. women's basketball, you know, sometimes they look, like they could play with these other teams, and sometimes they look like they should have been in the same league, right? Um, get them off the floor. But it's tough. It's a really tough because you don't really know what you're going to get. The roster, like you were talking about, hasn't been filled out, completely. So the cat's still kind of in the bag. You don't really know what you're going to get with this team, which is frustrating, but it's also intriguing, right? Because you never know. Maybe they surprise a few teams, and a few wins early in the year can build some confidence. You start 2 games at home. You start out 2-0 against New Mexico State and UTEP. That's a good start, and then you go from there. Uh, their schedule, I mean, it's the exact opposite, right? With the men's, uh, you get that 3-game home stretch right in the middle of the season. That can build confidence too. I'm glad they're at home in that stretch rather than the guys, because the guys, I think, away could really build some confidence at the end of the year, and the girls can build some confidence in the middle of the year. So, I kind of like the schedule. The team, I'm just not so convinced about, but I don't know if they are either.
I it's I mean, last year was just I mean, we're not gonna sugarcoat it. It was hard to like e-
Colin, they were
e-
bad.
yeah, it was hard because it looked like that it's like you said, they stuck close to teams, but then as the game went on, when that third quarter comes around,
Third quarter.
it just completely just separates everything. And
But
they
Colin,
would
when you see that, Colin, not to interrupt you,
you're good.
but when you see that team sticking with each other throughout the first half, and at the second half it turns, that's coaching. That's not the players, that's coaching. The players proved that you could play with them in the first half, and maybe that's coaching too, right? Scouting, schemes, right? You're looking at all that the teams beforehand, but those mid-game adjustments, that's your coaching staff. That's where the team has to get better first.
I, I agree. It's gonna be it's again this is it's gonna be another wait and see kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, but it's intriguing though too, because you just don't know what you're going to get, and you surprise a few people, you could really build some momentum and be the surprise team of the conference. I mean, that's what I think Sam was kind of like in men's basketball. I think that's what we were last year, right? A lot of teams just didn't really know what we were going to get uh, coming into a new conference, and we surprised a lot of teams. We won in the regular season. We won the regular season title. I'm not saying that this women's team can win the regular season title or we expect them to. I don't. I don't expect them to go very far throughout the season, but you still don't really know because the roster hasn't been set.
And I'm also curious to see what is the format into getting into the conference tournament because last year everyone made it, but now with the addition of Kennesaw State for both sides, is it just going to be one team that doesn't make it, or is there going to be two teams that don't make it, and you'll just have to have a flat out 1 through 8?
Well,
Or do
it's
you
not a
still have that playing?
situation. It's not a situation where it's like two separate divisions, though, is it?
No,
I think it's just going to be the one team.
the one team that's out.
That it would either be one or three,
Okay.
right? To have it even. I guess not because buys. You could have buy situations.
Yeah, because
Um, yeah,
last year it was 9 teams and the 8 seed and 9 seed, which is and would just play a sort of play in game, and that team plays the number 1 seed, which last year, of course, was Middle Tennessee, and Middle Tennessee was really freaking good last year, and they were just a few bad calls away potentially of knocking off LSU after they upsetted Louisville in the first round.
yeah. I mean, they had a really good team,
Yeah, it was a really good team. A
but they're always
very,
good. They're always good.
very intense but great coach in Rick Insell. I will say that. All right. It's now time for the segment y'all have been waiting for. It's time for this edition of the mailbag. It's no longer called the Monday mailbag. Just call it the mailbag. We don't have to get cute with it, Luke. Let's call it the mailbag. Let's go ahead and start it off. Let's try to make this quick. Let's check on Twitter first. We had a couple of responses there. I didn't want to ask you this before. I wanted to kind of put us on the spot on this one. I saw it the other day, and I totally forgot that it was on here. Big Cat at SHSU Ball Knower asks Mount Rushmore of SHSU basketball moments. Luke, I'll let you get started with this one. And we're only gonna do what we know or our time at Sam Houston. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It's not everyone has their own opinions because of course the Mount Rushmore could be different for someone that attended in the 80s or the 90s or the early 2000s.
Okay. Uh, Personal one. First time I got to see Sam Houston basketball play in person, it was at the Drum in Austin at Frank Irwin Center. Sam Houston covered the spread actually against the Longhorns in Austin. Very cool setting to be in. Actually, I impacted the game. You could go back to the footage and look up the film. I made Greg Brown, NBA draft pick, miss free throws, which helped Sam Houston. Zach Nuttall went absolutely crazy in the second half. That's just a personal shot. But that'd be that'd probably like the fourth coolest thing, probably. But that was just like my own type of thing. The Savion flag, buzzer beater a few years ago. What was that 2021?
Yes.
Um,
It'd be fall 2021 to spring 2022.
yeah. Last year, of course, winning the conference championship on the road, right? Clinching it on the road.
Mm-hmm.
That was in La Tech, wasn't it? Yeah, in Ruston.
Yeah, we were at the Big E's with Christian, Ethan, and the boys.
Yeah, no paid advertisement, but
No paid advertisement.
for sure, that was cool. I'm
You
trying
got
to
one
think.
more. You got
One
one
more.
more.
It's tough. There's been a lot. There's been a lot. You know what? How about when we thrashed New Mexico State
Oh
a few years
man.
ago? The best team in the conference at the time, it was the WAC.
Yes.
Supposedly the best team, and Coach Hooten and the boys absolutely crushed Chris Jans's New Mexico State Aggies. That was awesome.
Held Teddy Allen pretty well.
Teddy Allen was a non-factor. Really, I mean that was such a good game. Quay Grant in that game was absolutely nuts. Dante Powers. So that'd be four. If you want to go all time, of course, when Sam Houston clinches the tournament,
Yeah.
the Southland to go to the tournament, but I just wasn't. I mean, I was 8. No. What year was that? 2000, what, 10?
Yes, 10.
Okay, yeah. So I was born 02, so that I just wasn't watching at that point.
My Mount Rushmore. Oh man, firstly, I would say it's beating Santa Clara at Santa Clara. That felt sweet because it was Sam Houston's first NIT win in that tournament, and the funniest thing ever was when Quay Grant and the others were doing jumping jacks right in front of the student section because they kept doing jumping jacks when they were trying to make free throws on that end of the floor to try to distract them. And I'll just always remember Grant just doing jumping jacks and just like pointing like you're out, and that was awesome. Let's see. Hooten's return to Huntsville, Texas this past season.
Beat him again.
That was that was that was awesome. That was a great crowd. That was electric. Um, let's see. personally from, and again, these are Rushmore moments personally for me. This is not all time or anything like that, but we change the rules how we go when it comes to this. But anyway, that 3 game stretch where we faced off in our first year in the WAC against SFA, Utah Valley, in New Mexico State. I was at that SFA game, and it was, or no, it was Grand Canyon, Utah Valley, and New Mexico State. That same Houston versus SFA game was awesome. We'll talk about that another time. But that 3 game stretch between Grand Canyon. Wait, was that Grand Canyon or was that Stephen F. Austin? That 3 game stretch where we beat three of the best teams in the WAC at the time.
It was both because GCU went and played SFA. They went back to back against us and took losses against both.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Okay, but yeah, that 3 game stretch was awesome. That was amazing, and that's where I felt like the men's basketball program as a whole was starting to turn around into becoming a more well-known program in the country.
Yeah.
And for my fourth and final one, oh man, that's hard because a lot, but I would just say, I don't know. It was a great moment for me. I almost say that Liberty game because, well, not that Liberty game. No, let's not do that one. That's too personal. Let's make it a general one. Let's make it a general one and say Sam Houston qualifying for the NCAA tournament for the first time ever in 2003. And
There you go.
I almost put that up there, and that's my Mount Rushmore. That went a little longer than I was thinking it would, but we ball at the end of the day. All right, next one. We got a funny one, Luke. So Scroggins' biggest fans ask who's the weakest member of the gimmick accounts.
Oh,
And Walker Janek's biggest fan says that if it's me, referring to himself, that he's retiring on the spot. And I'm not gonna lie, Luke, I cooked him. I cooked him with the account.
what'd you say?
So Scroggins' biggest fan replied under that tweet, said that would be so funny, and then I replied with the account saying tempting,
Mm,
and then
mm.
tear emoji by Walker Janek's biggest fan, and then I did a live look at SHSU football fan, and it's SpongeBob doing the bag.
Yep.
Yeah, I cooked him. Not gonna lie.
Wow. Hey, I went first last time, so you can go first on this one.
I don't know, man. I don't really have a week account. I love all those. I love all those gimmick accounts, man.
The thing about it is that they're all relatively pretty new.
Yeah.
I remember I forget there was an account that was really repping hard when Sam Houston was when we were 0-8, and it said, and they had with the sign, it was, we are one, but they canceled out the O and it said we are 0-8. That one was really funny because that was the staunch defender of SHSU football for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Walker Janek, Walker Janek's good. Scroggins is
I don't have a week one.
Cat Fans isn't in there because Cat Fans is like the legendary one
Yes.
from way back, so he can't be it. Might be Cats on Top.
Oh, Cats on Top. You
Cats
get
on
called
Top.
out.
I think Cats on Top's been a little weak lately.
Oh, man. That's tough because Cats on Top had our next question.
Oh,
Do you think it's Cats on Top asks, do you think it's reasonable expectation for our men's basketball team to go to the tourney? I'm gonna make it quick. Yes. Absolutely. It's a reasonable expectation. And we've already discussed a lot about that in the previous segment, but yeah. I say yes, absolutely.
I think we have one of the best coaches, individual head coaches. I think we have one of the best complete coaching staffs in the conference. I think we have the defensive player of the year in the conference with Damon Nicholas Jr. Might be the most improved player too throughout this team's past few years. I mean, this guy's elevated his game in every single way you could have. Out of Duncanville, he was on the bench he was just slashing, wouldn't shoot it. This year, he's really shot the ball much better. Or this past year, great defender. He gets better in every year, takes that assignment. And Lamar Wilkerson can go off on anyone. Oh, that's the one I missed on the Mount Rushmore.
Lamar Wilkerson, Oklahoma.
The Wilkerson, Oklahoma
Um,
buzzer beater. In
yeah.
Norman, the Okies go home sad
Oh,
once again.
honorable mention. Let's just throw it out there. Honorable mention.
That one will replace the one at Texas. I will replace
Oh,
that.
okay. All right, let's now transition to Instagram. We only had one Collin.64. Do you think attendance numbers will go up for football games this year? Tough question. I think it depends on how we do in those first two games against Rice and UCF, because the third game of the season is the home game, is Bearkat Family Weekend against Hawaii. It's again, Luke, we talked about it. It's going to be dependent on how well the team performs on the field. Can they win? Because winning is what drives the fans mostly.
Yeah, I agree. Um, it's a weird question because with the stadium renovations, with all the construction coming, the stadium renovations coming after this season, the field and the track getting taken out, I think there will be, I would say it would improve. I would say it's marginal at best, but I think there's going to be more fans. I mean, the population of Sam grows tremendously every year. It feels like for students, which is good. Um, those middle of the week games, I know that's tough for a lot of families, traveling, but it's great for students. Um, I'm going to say yes, noticeable, but not like incredibly different.
Gotcha.
So maybe a little more than marginal, but less than significant.
I'm interested to see how those those midweek October games are. That's when we're on national TV.
Yeah, it's weird because the last year's games at night, and those were all such good games too. I mean, those were
Yeah,
really nail biter games. And
unfortunately,
the fan section,
yeah,
oh yeah, I mean it was brutal. But the fans really did a great job last year. But the thing about it is, you look elsewhere in the nation, you see not Sunbelt, the MAC teams when they play those midweek games. Of course, with them, the middle of the week, on a Wednesday night up in Illinois, it's like 30 degrees and sleeting, or not sleeting, snowing. Here,
yeah,
it's perfect. So there's a little bit of that weather difference there. I mean, it looks painful to be up there. It looks nice to be down here. Uh, but I think it'll be fine.
yeah. Well, that's gonna wrap up our mailbag and wrap up this episode of the Sam Houston Sports Talk podcast. Once again, that was Luke Scott. I'm Collin Neill. Be sure you like this podcast and subscribe to our Sam Houston Sports Talk YouTube channel and follow us on all of our social media platforms. More coming your way as we get ramped up for year number 2 of Conference USA and for football, FBS play. And if y'all are still going through it with Burrow, my thoughts and prayers go out to everybody that are still going through it. Once again, just hang in there, and hopefully things get back to normal when it's all said and done. Y'all have a good one. For Luke Scott, I'm Collin Neill. This has been an episode of the Sam Houston Sports Talk podcast. And as always, eat 'em up, Cats.